Guys, so today I'm basically going to tell you my vegan/vegetarian story. I became a vegetarian when I was 14 and I'm now 23 and I've been a vegan for a bit more than a year. I want to say almost 2 years. I was a child that loved meat and fish and dairy products and eggs. Growing up, I just loved eating cows and veals and porks and pigs and rabbits and ducks and chickens and all kind of fish, eggs, all kind of cheese and French. Obviously, I loved cheese, and I never really thought of the food I was eating as part of what was once a living being, because I was never presented the truth. My parents never told me that was killed for you, and I would never see it in stores or on TV or in magazines, because that's something we don't want to hear about. That's something that the big companies and the big lobbies don't want us to hear about, and it's changing, which is great. But when I was a kid, there was no way I could have been exposed to that truth. Ever since I was little, ever since I can even remember, I've always had a very, very strong connection and bond with animals and nature. For some people, it's something that sounds really stupid and really cheesy, and it's something that has lost all kind of value for a lot of people. But for me, it's a very real, genuine and intense feeling. Like, for me, when I was a kid, it hasn't changed much, but when I was a child, I wouldn't really make any difference between human beings and animals. Like, obviously, I knew that was not the same species, but in my head, that didn't, lead to any kind of hierarchy or any kind of judgment of value or of worth. I loved animals as much as I loved members of my family, especially, obviously, the pets that we had. I've always had a very strong, I want to say, awareness of what was wrong and what was right. And I remember, for example, my grandma, she used to wear a fur coat when I was a young kid, and once I asked her, what's that? Like, what is this cut made of? And she told me, and I remember being so shocked, and I told her that if she kept wearing that, I would never see her again. When I was 14, however, because I was really into animals' rights and animals protection, I was, bringing like petitions to school and asking teachers to sign, trying to raise awareness as much as I could as a child. And obviously, when we got a computer, when we got the internet and stuff like that, and I was allowed to surf online, I started going onto websites such as One Voice or PETA or that kind of stuff. Even though PETA, I have never watched any videos or any movie or any documentaries because I'm a really sensitive person, but I read a text written by a vet that was doing her internship into a slaughterhouse. That just completely changed my world, and that completely opened my eyes and shifted my whole point of view on life, me as a human being, me as an earthling, and other animals and other human beings as well. I remember reading that at night, and I decided to become a vegetarian instantly. And I felt so guilty for all these years I had spent, participating in what is the most important and the most unrecognized genocide and murder of all time. So my parents were not really okay with that. We had a lot of arguments. It was never really a possibility for me to give up on vegetarianism. So we went to see a nutritionist, because at that time it was not mainstream at all, it was not common, and my parents were really worried. That's really good. And she told us that it was completely fine. My parents allowed me to stop eating meat. And I was thinking of the idea of veganism, but to me, honestly, if I have to be honest, I thought that vegans were extreme people with extreme and radical mindsets, and I just didn't want to be one of them. I thought that, hens lay eggs and cows have to be milked, so why are they doing that? At some point I understood that it was because of the industry that was bad and did things badly, but I did not, until I think I was 20, understand that it was just because it is wrong. It's ethically wrong, and it is not good for your body anyway, and that's something I understood quite late. I'm really sorry about that. So that's why when I see vegetarian, I always want to tell them, you should be a vegan. And I'm not saying that really only for, you know, the ethical reasons and everything. I'm saying that for you as well, because I know you're going to regret, you know, just being a vegetarian, because the dairy industry is just awful, and it's the same as the meat industry, and it is so bad for your body. So to me, it doesn't make any sense why people are choosing to keep on eating those products. Even though they taste good, I will admit I loved cheese, but you know, it's so easy to cut off that. It's easy, especially when you think of the victims and when you think of the suffering. I think it's time to stop being selfish, and that's what I did when I was 14. That's what I did when I was 21. And that was a process that was not always happy, that was not always easy. People make fun of you when you're a vegetarian or when you're a vegan, and it's also very difficult as your awareness grows more inclusive of all sorts of lives and sufferings, to see other people keeping on doing the same stuff and not giving a shit. It's really hard to live in a world where you go out and there are pieces of corpses everywhere, basically, and living beings being killed every day, being exploited every day, and see that no one cares, and to see that people tell you, well, I think you're right and I kind of agree, but you know, I'm too lazy, or I love meat too much, or I don't have time, or I don't have the money, when those are really excuses that are not valid. I will never accept the excuse of I don't have time. Like, how is making pasta or eating bananas, not eating, but eating bananas or eating some vegetables time consuming? 10 minutes of your day is nothing when you think of how many lives it would save, and how is rice more expensive than a steak. I think it also comes from a misconception, that is that if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you have to supplement and you have to buy special kind of foods, but it's not true. Nature made it so easy for us. We are meant to eat fruits and vegetables and seeds and beans sometimes, and cereals. So you can find all the proteins, all the vitamins, all the nutrients, all the iron, everything in plants, and don't come up with the B12. I don't think there's anything else I would like to tell you about that. It has changed my life for the better. As Kafka would say, I can now look at you without shame or guilt because I don't eat you anymore. I'm paraphrasing him. I don't think it's actually the real quote, but you get what I mean. Honestly, it would change your life for the better. That's it. It's gonna be a long video. I'm sorry for that, but I hope it was interesting. If you have any questions regarding veganism or vegetarianism, please let me know.